So what's up people and welcome to the chapter 64 discussion of Kaiju number 8 or Kaiju 8号. So chapter 64 came out a few days ago, and as always I will leave a link to this chapter that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience. So if you're interested, go take a look at it before they pull this chapter back. Okay, so chapter 64 concludes the Leno Iharu story that's been going on for a while. And it concludes in a way that we kind of expected, but not really. For this chapter is not completely about Leno and Iharu, and in fact revolves more around Commander Ogata. As we know, in chapter 63, we found out that Iharu has the ability to temporarily increase his battlesuit efficiency and thus increasing his power. And that gives him the ability to support somebody like Leno for a short period of time and give him the ability to prepare for a final kill shot, which he does in chapter 63. But what we find out in chapter 63 also is that Commander Ogata also seems to have that same sort of capability. And so he realizes that Iharu is very similar to himself. But what we find out in chapter 64 is that Leno is very much similar to Hikari Shinomiya, Hikoru's mother. And if you recall, Hikari actually died defeating monster number 6 by overtaxing herself using her battlesuit that had monster number 4's powers. But what we find out in chapter 64 is that Commander Ogata and Hikari Shinomiya were very good friends. They were almost like close buddies. And in fact, as headstrong as Hikari Shinomiya was, Ogata was one of the people that she took advice from. And chapter 64 goes into the backstory of the time Hikari Shinomiya obtained the battlesuit that had monster number 4's powers. And during that time, she asked Ogata if she should accept that battlesuit, considering how dangerous it was. But knowing how much Hikari wanted to take that battlesuit, Ogata agreed with her, since nobody else in the JDF would be able to control it as well as her. And the parallel that comes out with regards to this is, of course, Iharu and Leno went through the same experience that Ogata did when Hikari overtaxed herself to defeat monster number 6 and thus dying at that time. And Ogata, of course, wonders whether he should have advised her not to take the battlesuit, although from my perspective, I don't think it would have mattered. The moment a very dangerous monster came out and somebody who could have been saved using monster number 4's battlesuit was killed, that would immediately persuade Hikari to take the battlesuit regardless of what Ogata said. And so I don't think he would have been able to change the inevitable. But I think one of the other things he realizes is that if he was able to power his own battlesuit up better, maybe he could have supported Hikari during that battle, and maybe she wouldn't have died at that time. It's hard to say since that part doesn't get covered in the chapter. But the point of Ogata's self-reflection is that regardless of what happened to him and Hikari, there is another chance for him to be able to have another group, Iharu and Leno, somehow take advantage of the experience that Ogata had. And so he took it on personally to be able to train these two people in the future. And during this chapter, he not only told Leno that he could use the battlesuit with monster number 6's powers, but also told Iharu and Leno that he was relying on them to become one of the pillars of the future generation of the JDF. And so this chapter becomes a passing of the torch, so to speak, from the older generation to the younger one. Ogata and Hikari were very close in a group of people who were the gang at that time. They were the OGs of the JDF. And what we find out in chapter 64 is the only person who has survived up till now is Commander Ogata. So he feels that maybe the reason he is left is so that he could teach the next generation everything that he has learned himself. And so he promises Hikari that he will do whatever he can to train Iharu and Leno. And so this turns out to be a relatively standard sort of closing for a chapter like this. It's not something very unique or groundbreaking, but I thought this chapter was very, very nice. If I was to do any sort of comparison, I would say this sort of chapter is the comfort food equivalent in manga. It's nothing spectacular, it's nothing unique, but it really does make you enjoy the series due to the stories such as these. And so I really did enjoy chapter 64, and I think it was a nice closing to leave Iharu, Leno, and Commander Ogata to their further character progression. And so it'll be interesting to see where Matsumoto Naoya will move next. Will he go to Kikoru, Vice Commander Hoshina, or more importantly, to Kafka? I am hoping that he actually goes to Kafka because we haven't seen Kafka for quite a long time. And once 65 comes out, I'll bring up another video and I hope you join me at that time. But this is the chapter 64 discussion for Kaiju Hachiko. Any comments that you have will be appreciated. And in any case, I hope you join me in my next episode. And until then, happy manga reading. And as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.